Hello, this is Stephanie Remick, the Director of Experiential Learning at Washington Leadership Academy, with a friendly update about the internship interview process. This Friday, students will begin sending you emails about scheduling their interviews. Students are required to email 10 different organizations. We ask that you respond directly to the student and make sure that I am CC'd on all communications. The reason is, one, I am tracking all of the students' communications to ensure they've met that requirement of 10 emails. Two, I need to be aware of all interviews that are taking place. And three, it's also a written record should any discrepancies come up in the student's grading. So again, make sure I am CC'd on every single communication, even if a student neglects to put me on the email initially. Just get in the habit of every time you email a WLA student, make sure I'm on the email. We are also asking that you complete 3 interviews for each position that you have available. Reason being, we are requiring our students to do 3 interviews for their internship experience. Do not limit yourself to the first 3 students that send you an email. Students are still getting in the process of using email as a primary form of communication, and so not many of them are good at follow-up just yet. So please make sure to be responsive to all students that send you an email so that you ensure you do actually end up interviewing enough candidates. At the same time, you don't need to offer an interview to every single student that contacts you. But please give feedback directly to the student as to why you're not offering them an interview. Maybe they didn't respond in a timely manner. Maybe they didn't provide you their resume after you asked for it on several occasions. Whatever the reason is, please make sure you tell the student directly. Students have very limited availability for their interviews, which is why we have set aside 3 dates which students are allowed to leave the school to go to your office to complete an interview. I refer to these dates as Interview Fridays. On Interview Fridays, the interviews do not take place at the school, they take place at your office. So students will come to school, we'll take attendance, and then we will dismiss them to go to your office for their interview. The earliest you can schedule an interview on these 3 dates is 10 a.m. You can schedule them later than 10 a.m., but the earliest time on September 28th, October 12th, and October 19th is 10 a.m. You can also schedule interviews with students on the days they are not in school. Those are Thursday, October 4th, Friday, October 5th, and Monday, October 8th. This coincides with the Columbus Day holiday weekend, so I understand some organizations may not be open. However, Thursday, October 5th and Friday, October 5th, I would expect organizations may be open. So please try and schedule interviews with students on those dates if the Interview Fridays do not work for you. Additionally, you can conduct phone interviews. However, they cannot happen during the course of the day when students are in class. Students can only do phone interviews after 4 p.m. on Monday to Thursday because they are in class from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. If a student asks you to do an interview at 10 a.m. on a Monday, please decline that offer because you know they are in school. Please, 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 if you're meeting with students Monday to Thursday for an interview, it needs to be after 4 p.m. Finally, Friday, September 21st is another option for a phone or in-person interview because students are dismissed at 12:30. You need to take some time for yourself to think about how you want to organize your interviews and also how you want to track the interviews that you've completed. These are some ideas I wanted to pass along that other organizations have used successfully in the past. Based on the availability of the students, you could decide to host a single day when you invite any student that has emailed you to come to your office for an interview. And you can simply conduct your interviews on a first-come, first-served basis, and then your interviews are closed. You could also create a Google form or a Doodle form with the dates you know students are available and ask them to sign up that way. Create a means to track your interviews so you know when I ask you to fill out a ranking sheet at the end of this process, who you most want to work with as your intern. You can do this by creating a spreadsheet, making sure to record the student's first and last name. In the junior class alone, we have 3 Kevins: Kevin Baker, Kevin Ford, and Kevin Johnson. So if all you put in your ranking sheet is Kevin, I may end up giving you the wrong Kevin. So please make sure you're keeping track of both their first and last name and the date and time they completed their interview. Another way you could go about doing this is simply creating a sign-in sheet so that anytime you meet with a AA student, you make them fill out that piece of paper. Some friendly reminders about this process. This is a professional mentorship process. Our students are going through professional emails, many of them for the first time. So the more feedback you can provide them, the better. And the more direct feedback you can provide is best. So a lot of times organizations like to follow up with me and let me know what worked well, what didn't work well, and some things that they think would be good for students to know. I always tell them to tell this directly to the student. That is because, kind of like with parents, students don't always like listening to their teachers, and we tell them these things all the time, but when they hear it from you, it's different, and for some reason, it makes it more real. So if a student shows up to an interview without their resume, at the end of the interview, simply say to them, "Thank you so much for coming for your interview. However, it didn't look good that you didn't have your resume ready when I asked for it." Or, "Hey, don't bring your friend to your interviews. That's not professional." Make sure to give them the direct feedback. Since I mentioned resumes, students do have them. However, students are used to using Google Docs for all of their sharing of materials with staff at WLA. We are going to be teaching them how to download it and attach it, since I know not all organizations use Google Platform. However, please be patient with us as we try and teach students that they may need frequent reminders when they try to share you a link to their Google Doc version of their resume. You can ask students to do a performance task or a second interview. I've had organizations do this in the past. Just remember that all of that, the performance tasks and any second interviews you want to conduct, must be completed by the October 19th deadline. So as you're planning for your interviews, if you're planning to ask for a performance task or second interview, make sure you've left yourself enough time for students to complete that by October 19th. Finally, do not make yourself go crazy in this process. Sometimes our students will ask to reschedule or they will cancel last minute. We all know things come up in adult schedules as well. However, don't go crazy trying to meet with a student. Allow them to try and reschedule once, and then if they don't reschedule with you again, that's fine, that's on the student. Just make sure that when the student does ask to reschedule, you tell them that directly. Say in the email, "Thank you so much for letting me know you cannot make it today. However, I'm only allowing you to reschedule this interview one more time. What is the best day and time that you can make this up?" And finally, again, October 19th, all interviews must be completed. There is my contact information. If you needed to follow up with me, email is definitely the best way to get me. Text messaging is the second best way. If you really need to talk to me, send me a text message and I will call you. I don't do well with phone calls because my phone is generally silent during the school day. Thank you so much. Excited to get this process started.